If you have not heard part 1 and part 2, go back now. This will not hit the same way without them. For everyone who has been here from the beginning, this is the one you have been waiting for. When we left off, I had spent 4 days building a document I called Scope of Betrayal. I had spoken to a lawyer who told me I had a very strong case. I had made a second phone call to a journalist. And I had discovered there was one more thing I needed to know before I made a single move. I needed to understand how high up this went. So I looked. And I want to be honest with you. I had prepared myself for the possibility that the answer would be uncomfortable. That it might reach further than Richard. That there might be more people involved than I had initially assumed. I had not prepared myself for what I actually found. The consulting firm that Claire worked for had been engaged by my company 11 months ago. Standard retainer. Strategy support. Nothing unusual on the surface. But when I looked at the invoices, which were partially visible in a board document that had been accidentally shared company-wide 6 months earlier and that I had saved without knowing why, I saw something that made everything click into place. The firm had billed for a project called Market Expansion Framework Development. Billed in full. Significant sum. Marked as delivered. 2 months before the all-hands meeting. So let me be precise about what had happened. I had developed a complete market expansion framework over 18 months. I had presented it to Richard in February. Richard had quietly passed the core concepts to an external consulting firm. The consulting firm had repackaged my work, billed my company for developing it, and handed it back. My company had then presented it as an externally validated strategy at an all-hands meeting. 3 parties had benefited from my work. None of them were me. I sat with that for one evening. Just one. Because I had already done my grieving in part 1 and part 2. By the time I understood the full picture, I was not grieving anymore. I was ready. I called my lawyer the next morning. I told her what I had found. There was a pause on the line. Then she said she needed to bring in a colleague who specialized in intellectual property and that we should meet in person as soon as possible. We met 2 days later. The 3 of us. For 2 hours. By the end of that meeting, I had a clear picture of exactly what I was entitled to pursue and exactly how to pursue it. My lawyer was precise and calm and absolutely certain. She said, "They made a significant error. They left a paper trail." We spent the following week preparing. I provided everything. Every document. Every email. Every timestamp. The original project lantern files with their metadata intact. The board document with the invoice. The workshop registration that proved I had been in the same room as Claire 8 months before I presented to Richard. My lawyer sent a formal letter to the company's legal department on a Thursday morning. By Friday afternoon we had a response. They wanted a meeting. I walked into that building on a Monday morning. 14th floor. Conference room I had never been in before. The kind of room with a long glass table and chairs that cost more than my monthly rent. 4 people were waiting. 2 lawyers I did not recognize. My manager Richard. And the CEO. I sat down across from all of them. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then the company's lead lawyer said they appreciated me coming in and that they hoped we could resolve the matter in a way that worked for everyone. I looked at him. Then at Richard. Then at the CEO. And I said something I had been preparing for 2 weeks. I said, "I am not here to resolve anything for everyone. I am here because you used my work, paid someone else to repackage it, presented it as your own strategy, and then continued to employ me as if none of that had happened. I have documentation of every step of that process. My lawyer has copies of all of it. And I have already spoken to a journalist who covers intellectual property disputes in this industry and who is very interested in this story. Then I said, so the question is not how we resolve this for everyone. The question is how quickly you would like to resolve this for me. There was a silence in that room that I will remember for the rest of my life. The CEO looked at his lawyers. One of them made a small movement with his hand. Richard was looking at the table. The negotiation that followed took 3 weeks. I will not share the specific terms because they are confidential. What I will tell you is this. I left that company. On my terms. With a settlement that reflected the actual value of what had been taken from me. With a non-disparagement agreement that went both ways. And with a written acknowledgement, private but formal and signed, that Project Lantern had originated with me. I did not go to the journalist. I did not need to. The possibility had been enough. I do not work in that industry anymore. I started something of my own 6 months ago. Small. Careful. Built entirely on my own terms with my own name on every single thing I create. People ask me sometimes what the most important moment in this whole story was. They expect me to say the meeting on the 14th floor. Or the moment I found the invoice. Or the day I heard my CEO say the words Project Beacon for the first time. But it was none of those. It was the moment I sat at my kitchen table on the evening it all began and made a choice. I chose not to react. I chose to think. I chose to build something from the wreckage of what had just happened to me instead of simply burning in it. That choice was the only reason any of the rest of it was possible. If you are in something like this right now, I know how loud the anger is. I know how impossible it feels to be patient when everything in you wants to act immediately. But wait. Document. Think. Build your case until it is undeniable. The truth does not need to be loud. It just needs to be irrefutable. Thank you for being here for all 3 parts. If this series reached you at the right moment, subscribe. New story every Tuesday and Friday. And if someone in your life needs to hear this, send it to them. I will see you in the next one.